Hey, and welcome back to my website and to our broadcast. There's been a great deal of controversy recently about the San Bernardino shooting and the use of an iPhone. The FBI is asking Apple to develop a program to let them get into the San Bernardino shooter's iPhone, and for legitimate reasons would like to see, is there other names in there that might have been tied to the shooting that they can investigate. So far, so good. That's okay, but they just don't want to get into the Apple iPhone. What they're asking is for Apple, because Apple says, we can't let you get into it. What happened was, after the iPhone was gathered by the FBI, they tried on their own to break in. Apple told them how to do it, but they didn't follow that example. Apple said, change the password, and they give them the exact instructions to get right into the iPhone. Well, the FBI didn't do that. They tried a different system, and they locked the iPhone up completely. So if they would have followed the instructions of the developer, the people that made the iPhone, they'd had all the information they wanted. They blew it. They messed up. They didn't follow procedure. So now what they're asking is for Apple to give them all this information. Now, we all know that if you've got information, that it can be subpoenaed if you go to a judge, not just by request of a law enforcement agency, but if you go to a judge and the judge thinks it's legitimate, that's a good check and balance under the Fourth and Fifth Amendment. Then if the judge signs an order, then you have to turn over the information. And that's what they did. They went to a judge, the judge signed the order, but Apple says, we don't have the information. And the FBI says, well, you can go ahead and completely write a new program and create a brand new system that will eventually give us that information. And Apple says, now, wait a minute. Is that our obligation? Do we have to go out and put our engineers together and build an entire new system so that you can get this information? That's not what the Constitution guarantees in terms of our protections. That's not what the law says. You're going too far. And so that's the issue right now. You see, Senator Marco Rubio in one of the recent debates said, well, they're only asking you to open up one iPhone. No, they're not. If they create this system, we've seen very creative hackers all over the world who have broken into the Social Security system, broken into the emails of the head of the National Security Agency. We can't even protect those who are supposed to protect us from getting into their emails. And so all this stuff can be hacked. And Apple says, once we create something like this, you've got these hackers all over the world that can break in to get very sensitive information from any individual or any company worldwide that uses an iPhone. That's a very legitimate concern. And so there was a hearing before Congress last week, and I thought that was interesting, some of the comments that were made there before the hearing in Washington. Representative Jason Chavez, a Republican from Utah, conservative Republican from Utah, asked FBI Director James Conley, with all due respect to the FBI, they didn't do what Apple had suggested that they do in order to retrieve the data, correct? Oh, yeah, they didn't do it. I mean, what they went to change when they went to change the password, they kind of screwed things up, did it not? This is the Republican asking this before the committee hearing, and the FBI said, yeah, we kind of blew it. Now you're asking Apple to clean up your mess. Then you kind of wonder, we've got this National Security Agency. Aren't they supposed to be technically able to break into anything? I mean, that's what we have them for. We got the very best minds, supposedly, spending trillions of dollars to protect us, yet they can't even break into an iPhone. That raises questions about the competency of the National Security Agency. And so you've got all these unanswered questions where Apple just says, where the FBI says, you do all our work for us, and you give us the information, and then we'll take it from there. You know, the husband of one of the San Bernardino shooters, his wife was shot. She's in recovery in the hospital. He told the federal court, neither I nor my wife want to raise our children in a world where privacy is the trade-off for security. In other words, don't break into the iPhone. This is one of the folks that got shot that is saying this. Wall Street Journal editorialized just a couple of days ago. They said, if the government can compel a manufacturer to invent intellectual property that does not exist in order to invade its own lawful products, then there is no limit to what can be done, no limit to the legal principle. So you've got a lot of, so it sounds easy enough. Just give us what's in the iPhone. Apple says we can't, and you're asking us to create a system that could be hacked worldwide that can cause massive disruption in private businesses, in the defense of this country, and in individual privacy. And I think those are very legitimate concerns. I wrote about this in my column this week. You can find it on our website at the lead of our website, or go to JimBrownUSA.com to see what I think about what is a reasonable balance in terms of security versus privacy. In this instance, there's absolutely no doubt the FBI went too far. So public opinion is turning. Initially, oh yeah, you got to cooperate with the FBI. But now we're seeing the consequences. There's a number of people say, wait a minute, that's not a legitimate request. Do your own job. All this information gathering. I had a lady named Colleen Landry on my radio show this last weekend. She's a former special agent for the FBI. She's an attorney. She lectures on constitutional law. And she said, what we're doing is, we're looking for a needle in a haystack. But rather than very succinctly going after the needle, we're just piling on more hay. We're just gathering information. Give us everything off your phone. Give us phone numbers. Give us this. Give us this. Throw it all into a big database. But we're not getting to the crux of solving these problems. She cited the example of 9/11. The lead terrorist that put the whole thing together weeks before was in this country taking flying lessons in the Minneapolis office. Colleen Landry said, hey, something fishy's going on. You better look at this guy. That was ignored by higher ups in the FBI, the Justice Department. Of course, 9/11 happened. Colleen Landry, by the way, was named as the Time Person of the Year in 2012 on my radio show last week because of her concern about the ineptitude of the information gathering service. She pointed out to me on the radio show the Boston bombers. The Russians had called repeatedly saying, these guys are dangerous, you better watch out for them. But we're more concerned about gathering everybody's telephone logs and getting info rather than following up these very succinct leads. The shoe bomber on the American Airlines flight here some years back, his father calls up the FBI and says, hey, my son is out of control. You better do something about him. We miss all these very obvious leads, but we get completely consumed about gathering all your privacy data. Makes some good common sense to put this in perspective. Thank goodness we've got Colleen Landry's that are, Colleen Rowley is her last name, by the way, looking out for us in this country. And let's use some reason when we try to get Apple to do the job the federal government should be doing in the first place. Hey, I'll see you next week. Glad you watched here today.